Anyway, you put up a huge item for auction, and I want you to talk about that. I know, like I said on the chat, we're here raising funds and awareness for cancer. We've been sharing stories, and it's a special charity for most of us because of we've all been touched by it. So, talk to us a little bit about what you've put up for the auction and what that looks like, because a lot of us have never taken the time to do a seminar of any kind, and what is that experience like?
Well, we do basically a 3 day seminar. The seminar itself is only 2 days. On Friday nights, either in Biloxi or Las Vegas, we have a casual get together, meet and greet, where we get to put faces with names, host a few adult beverages, and then the guys usually separate and go off and have a little fun at the tables or eat dinner or whatever they want to do. I tell the guys to not get Friday night fever and go crazy at the tables and lose all their money, because after the class is when we make our money. On Saturday, we have a full day dice control seminar. We do those either at a dealer school that we rent for the weekend down in Biloxi, or in Las Vegas. We do it on a private craps table at Nate Fernandez Home Craps Pit in Las Vegas. Nate is known in the dice community as Darth Nader. He is the smartest guy I know when it comes to dark side play. And we teach in our advanced betting strategy class on Sundays about a 40% advanced right side play with strategies a lot of you guys have just never even thought of. We teach about 40% dark side play, which strategies most of you guys would never even play, because probably 80% of the guys that are listening to this today will never even attempt to play the don'ts. And then about 20% of the strategies we teach are hybrid plays that involve a mixture of right side play and hedge plays on the dark side that allow you to position yourself to transition from the right side to the dark side, or from the dark side to the right side when the table's choppy. Basically, to keep you in the game, keep you playing, and position yourself so when the table gets hot, you can jump on it, or if it gets ice cold, you can profit from the table being cold. Something most of us won't do. Most of us will just stand there and lose money waiting on a shooter. So we try to prevent people from doing that by teaching them ways to profit, or at least tread water while we're waiting for that hot shooter to come along. But the dice control class on Saturday is a full day. Ordinarily, it runs from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. We did one in Vegas past weekend. Started up at 9 o'clock in the morning. We finished at 7 o'clock that night. That class went a little long. Uh, it was a small class. We usually would have finished that class an hour early, but these guys, they wanted a lot of information, and we stayed and gave it to them. We go until the class is done. So that class went till 7 o'clock at night. And I'm telling you, this fat boy was hungry when that class was over with. Sunday morning, we cranked up at 9 o'clock again. Normally, we wrap that class up at 12 o'clock. That class went till about 1:30 for it. So again, we covered a lot of content. That's not the normal class. Normally, it's 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. We break up at 5 o'clock. Then we get together and hit the casinos and play together. Sunday afternoon, after the advanced betting strategy class, we take a break for a couple of hours. Then Nate and I meet the players in the casino, and we spend the rest of the day playing live sessions with the students. Then on the Monday after the class is over with, those who want to hang around that day, the coaches hang around and play live sessions together. And if the students want to hang around and play with us, we're open to let them do that. Now, we've been doing this stuff this is my 22nd year of teaching dice control classes. Nate and I have been doing classes together now for the last 5 years or so. There's no other outfit out there that does what we do. Nobody else teaches classes like we do. They don't teach the content we do. And they don't go out and play with the students like we do. In fact, a lot of them go and hide, and the coaches go off and play by themselves and don't tell the students where they're playing. And that's just the name of the game. Nate and I have nothing to hide. Fact is, we go .7 out just like everybody else does, and anybody that pretends they don't, they're just freaking liars. I mean, it just is what it is. It's the nature of the game. We're playing a long run game. Uh, Not ashamed of what my 7-to-rolls ratio is. Uh, I've been running a 7-to-rolls ratio just shy of 8 for the last 8 years. Back 10 years ago when I practiced a lot more than I did now, it was in the high 8s. But, I don't practice near as much as I used to. Hell, I'm 73 years old, been doing this stuff for 23 years. So, uh, you know, I, I pretty well got my toss dialed in, and I'm not changing a whole lot. Uh, we also are the only outfit out there that teaches a scientific approach that we validate through Bone Tracker, which is our program that we use. It's a computer program we use to track roll, validate your 7-to-rolls ratio that scientifically proves not only which dice set you need to use, but through our analytics, we can diagnose which dice set is your best set for each number on the layout. Now, if you are a guy that likes to bet the bonus bet, the all tall small, and you get down to the point that, by golly, I need a 12 to make the tall, through Bone Tracker, we can show you how to learn which dice set to use to throw a 12 without fear of your 7-to-rolls ratio changing. There are 576 different dice sets. There are 16 dice sets that will give you exactly the same 7-to-rolls ratio. And among those 16 dice sets, there are a couple of them that will give you a high percentage of 2s and 12s. And we can help you find which ones those are. Same goes for the 2 or the 3 and the 11 and the 4 and the 10. The 5 and 9, the 6, the 8. There are dice sets in your repertoire that will work for those numbers if you learn what they are. And that's one of the services we offer through our Bone Tracker classes, which we do on the Fridays before the full weekend seminars. Now, that's an add-on class. It's not included in what we're doing on this donation we're doing here. The Saturday class, the full class for first-time students, normally $995. The Sunday betting strategy class, $359. So the total value of this weekend seminar we're donating is $1,350 some odd dollars. So that's up for bid on this auction this weekend. And you have your choice of coming to a Las Vegas class or a Biloxi, Mississippi class. You win it, you get it. And it doesn't cover travel, it doesn't cover hotel, any of that stuff. I highly recommend my buddy Michael Feldman if you need assistance with travel. Michael's my guy. He handles all my reservations in Las Vegas.
Michael helped us all out with this one too. He got us,
yeah.
He hooked us up with hotels and comps here as well for this event.
Yeah.
So Michael's a great guy.
Yeah. So there you go. If you're interested in that, it's available to bid on, and looks like we've got about a $500 bid on it right now. Again, it's over a $1,300 value. So
that's awesome.
Feel free to pin and bid on that if you're interested.
Let me ask you a question. Just a blatant curiosity here. More important to you, knowing how to bet, knowing how to throw, because it sounds like you've got the betting class a little shorter than the throwing class.
Yep.
In overall success for a craps player that's trying to get better at this game, where should they focus their time and energy?
Well, you have to be able to toss the dice properly to get an advantage. Okay, you've got to have the advantage over the game to win, number one. But I don't care how big of an advantage you have over the game. If you don't bet it correctly, you're still going to lose. So it's a 1-2 punch. You got to have them both. you can't, the best shooter in the world is still going to lose if he bets his hand wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, we say that a lot.
So you got to have them both.
Yeah, I've said this a million times on my shows. It's, the dice controllers can be their own worst enemy sometimes because they overbet their skill.
Exactly.
Right, which happens all the time, and I that's why I was asking the question, because I know from what I read from Access Power, and my take on Access Power Craps is this managing expectations, playing it smart, not being a dumbass at the table, essentially, and the throwing just happens to enhance that. Would that be a way to characterize the way that you kind of approach things with your students?
Yeah, the first thing I teach in class, the very first thing I cover, there used to be a TV show, a comedy show on that had a little skit they did that was the Lowered Expectations dating site. And it was a kind of a funny skit, but I call this a little opening thing I do in the seminars the Lowered Expectations betting session. And it's basically, here's the real world, guys. This is what you can expect on a random roller. This is how long their average game is, and this is how long the average hand is. Okay, and it's the 3.5 tosses to come to a decision on the average game, 8.5 on the average hand, with a 7-to-rolls ratio of 6. With 7-to-rolls ratio of 7, average game is a little over 4. Average hands up about 10. Okay, so if you are an average shooter with a 7-rolls ratio of 7 and you think you're going to go in and toss 30-roll hands every time you get the dice, good freaking luck, buddy. You're going to toss 10 to 12 number hands, and you've got to adjust your betting to that level. Now, you're going to have 20 number hands. You're going to have 30 number hands, but you're going to have 2 and 3 number hands also. And it's all going to average out to about 10 to 12 number hands. So you've got to bet accordingly. And if you don't do that, you're going to wind up losing money over the long run. So that's the kind of approach that I try to teach these folks.
Oh, good. Stephen's question.
I don't understand the difference between game and hand. I'm sorry if that's a very basic question. But
No, most people don't. A game at craps starts with the first toss, okay? So does a hand. But a hand can contain many games. So a game is decided when you either make a point or 7 out. A hand is decided when you 7 out. So let's say a shooter tosses a 7 on the come out. That's a game. That game is over. Let's say he tosses a 3 craps on the come out. That game is over. But his hand continues. Now he tosses a 5 and establishes a point. He tosses a 6. He tosses an 8. He tosses a 9. He tosses a 5. That game is over, but his hand continues. Now he tosses a 7. He won that game. His hand continues. Now he tosses a 6. He tosses an 8. He tosses a 6. He won another game. His hand continues. Now he tosses a 7. Now he tosses an 8. Now he 7's out. His game is over. His hand is over. So his hand consisted of 4 games there, maybe 5, whatever. But his hand is now over and it goes to the next shooter. So a hand can consist of many games, but it can also consist of just one game, depending on when the 7 shows up and whether or not he makes a pass. Make sense?
That's
yes, sir, I'm going to be so much smarter on my next video because I'm going to throw that game hand out. You guys know what I'm talking about here.
Well, there you go.
That's a great explanation that was. All right, now I'm going to challenge you again for another simple explanation. Explain this to a kindergartner. Okay, SRR, SOR, and BSR. I asked this in Facebook. Got a great answer from everybody, but let's have it in your words. Talk to my son who's just learning how to play craps, the difference between those and what they mean to you.
7 SRR is 7 to rolls ratio. So how many 7s you toss, and let's say you have 36 rolls and you toss 6 7. So you got a 7 to rolls ratio of 6, right? Because 6 into 7. SOR, I have no idea. I don't even look at it. So you got me on that one. What's the
I've
next
heard
one?
that be called the most bullshit stat there is. Like it's a
Yeah,
inflated
that's
thing.
what Nate.
Right.
That's what Nate called it the other day when you asked that question. I don't even
100%
look
he
at
called
it.
it that. Well, the thing is, I think
Yeah,
people calculate that it's the same kind of thing, but they don't count the come out seven or something, or they don't count something, and it
yeah,
inflates the number.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Next was BSR
Yeah.
box numbers to 7 ratio. But BSR's box numbers to 7 ratio. So how many box numbers were thrown? So it's how many 4s, 5s, 6, 8, 9, 10s to 7s were rolled. And what was the last one?
That was it. Those are the three that I know of. Is there
Oh,
another
okay.
metric that I'm not aware of? So another way of calculating.
Yeah.
Because what I've heard is people say, and this is again coming from folks that don't necessarily believe in dice control, will say, "Oh, y'all keep moving the ball. You keep changing the metric," and I liken it to baseball. I coached baseball for years, and I've seen there's a batting average, there's a on base percentage, there's a slugging ratio, there's all the different stats in baseball that seem to kind of keep shifting your vision on what's important, but they all do tell a different story. And I think the BSR to me tells an interesting story, which is how much money can I actually win. Now, when I calculated it, I don't include the come out or the point being set in my calculations because I don't collect on that. So my BSR is really the number of box numbers during a game, during the game, not ahead of the game. And to me, that's the most telling stat. If I'm throwing the BSR 4 or 5, I'm collecting 4 or 5 times on average, and that's kind of what I'm looking at. Is that kind of how you teach it with your students?
I look at 7 to rows ratio and on axis performance. So, on axis, 44.4% is random. So I'm looking for them initially to get up above 48%. And if you're really good, to get above 50% on axis. That's strong. So that's a number that's really important for me. And I do have guys that are above 50% on axis consistently. And these guys are running 7 rolls ratios up like 9. I mean, they're huge. So these guys, I want to be on the table with them when they have the dice.
9 SRR is crazy.
Yeah.
So all right. So and most of that's coming from Bone Tracker, obviously. Bone Tracker is the metric tool that you're using, right, for all those calculations, right?
Right.
Okay.
And Bone Tracker's been around since about 2004. My buddy Sean Broadhead, aka Mad Dog, came up with this for his personal use and shared it with the world as open source. Have it, have fun, modify it, do what you want to with it. It's all free. Nobody charges anything for it. It's available free for download on accesspowercraps.com or crapsfest.com. Both are my websites. That's the original version of it that's available free for download. Over on my Craps forum, which is accesspowercraps.com/Craps forum, that's a private forum. There's a $12 registration fee to be a member of it. But there we have the newest version of it, which is version 5.8, which has a lot more analytical stuff that we've done the last couple of years added on to it. And we keep that behind closed doors because of the new content on it. And eventually there's going to be a fee for some of the advanced content because Nate and Mark Evangelisto, 220 Inside, have put hundreds of hours of coding into developing this new content. And they need to get a little bit of something out of it for all the hours they put into it. So there's going to be a fee at some point for the advanced work they've done on what they call the coaster charts and this content on the 576 different dice sets and finding your specific set for specific numbers and all that stuff, because that's really a powerful tool and it's taken a lot to develop that. So, but right now, pay your $12 for your registration fee over there and you can download version 5.8 and it is powerful stuff. There you go.
I just now got that to work on my Mac.
Hey, Heavy, we got a question for you.
Shoot.
Let's see. Why not bet with the 7 using dice influencing since it has the most dice combinations?
Well, in my original seminar back in 2002, 2003, that's exactly what I taught. I taught to use the all 7 set and shoot for the 7 on the come out. These days, we play a game within a game. GWAG, we call it, GWAG. And because of we've got the all tall small worked out to the point that it is an advantage play for us. We've got a mathematical edge over the all tall small. And as part of it, we play a world bet plus an ace deuce on the come out, and we set for and throw horn numbers on the come out. And we try to get the 2, 3, 11, 12 out of the way. Now, just an example, last weekend on one come out series, our buddy banker dude, Kevin, tossed 10 horn numbers on the come out. We're getting, with a $5 world and a $1 ace deuce, we're getting paid $25 every time a horn hits. Pressing it $6 each time goes 25, 50. You can do the math. We're making a lot of money on horn numbers on the come out, and we've got them out of the way on the all tall small. So when we get started on the regular game, we're just knocking out points. We also get on kicks. I don't know if you saw any of the posts on my private group or not, but Kevin, on our last Biloxi trip at Beau Rivage, last session, took a $15 four up to table max $5,000 in one session. 50, 25, 50, 100, 250, 500, 1,000, 2,500, 5,000, just like that. And then he didn't hit it at 5,000, unfortunately. He threw a come out hard 4 and didn't have it working, unfortunately. We learned a lesson on that one. If you've got your bet up to table max and you've just made your point on the come out, hop your bet you have at table max for $100 each way. If he'd have done a 300 hop bet on that 4 3 ways, he'd have made $3,000 in that hard 4. But we didn't think about that, or we'd have all done it. So there you go.
You can add that to the book. You're right.
We've added that. Yes, we've added that to the playbook now. We know
for sure.
We know from now on, if you're table max and that's your point, hop it.
Yeah, leave it off and hop it. That's interesting. Interesting play. It's those little nuances that
but we did used to teach that. We did used to teach that strategy of use a 7 to your advantage, and also, I used to teach a lot of advantage plays shooting from the don'ts, and that's in my lesson plan. But nobody wants to do it. People want to shoot long hands and be the shooting star. They don't want to go to a table by themselves, and be the only player at the table and shoot from the don'ts and win a lot of money. It's crazy because it's easy to do. It's freaking easy to do. We did a class back in about 2007, 2008, where everybody kept track of their winnings for the weekend, and on the last day, we all tallied up who did the best. And our best player was a guy from Canada who went to 4 queens every morning and played by himself on the table, shooting from the don'ts. He won more money than anybody. Going down there every morning and shooting from the don'ts by himself. And he never got any heat because he was shooting from the don'ts. The casino just didn't view him as an advantaged player because he's playing the don'ts. The guy kept 7 and out. He's not a threat, you know. But if you'd gone down to 4 queens and tossed an hour hand, I'll guarantee you they'd have been sweating him like crazy. So there you go.
Well, what's funny, you get that question a lot when we talk about dice influence. We get all the time. Somebody will come out and say, "Well, if you're so good at it, just set for the 7, and that easy. It's that easy." And to some degree, that's kind of a lazy question, I would say, right? It's kind of a cop out. But there's a lot of folks out there that think it's a bunch of hokey, right? You can't do it. There's no such thing as an advantage. We had somebody out here earlier tonight, Michael Shackelford, who's a math. You probably know Michael, right? He's a math guy.
Yeah.
Knows all the probabilities. Has studied this stuff, and he's like, it's just all random. It's just a matter of the pockets you find yourself in. And as somebody who's in the business and you're making money with it, talk to that. Talk to those people who are quote unquote, not, I want to say haters, but naysayers.
Well, Stanford Wong came to a couple of my classes back when he was he was coming to Vegas regularly and had Pi Press. He wrote his book on dice control based on classes he attended with Golden Touch, with me and Bo Parker, dice coach. And, he told me, in fact, he wrote it in the front of his book, the autograph for me, that he would bet on my hand anytime. He was standing at the table with me one time when I threw a hand at Paris when I threw 26 sixes in one hand. Then again, we were at the table at the cannery one time when one of our players, 45 minutes into a hand, Wong colored up and left. I said, "Where the hell are you going?" He says, "I don't like the way the guy's tossing the dice. He looks random to me." And I'm like, "He's 45 minutes into a hand. He looks random." I said, "You're effing nuts," And he went over to another table to play blackjack. So, he just didn't like the way the guy's dice looked flying through the air, so he left. The guy tossed dice another 20 minutes. So,
wow.
You never know these stories. But,
so you brought up
Wong.
What's the deal with him? Because I know he's disavowed the whole thing since. So what's the story behind that? I really don't.
Well, the thing was he didn't want to put in the practice it took to get good at it. He never bought a practice rig. He never had a table to practice on. He went home and practiced throwing dice on his bed, and he thought he could diagnose whether his toss was good or not by looking at the tracks the dice made on his bed on the bed sheet when they rolled. And he never practiced enough to really get good at it. So his feeling was not that it was not possible. He said outright that he believed it was possible with enough practice, but for him, it just wasn't worthwhile to put the practice in. He felt his time was better spent playing blackjack.
That's what I've heard him say. And it's funny because I literally just spent $3,000 on a new craps table for the purpose of throwing dice and working every day. And I work hours I film myself for an hour or more live twice a day throwing dice.
Yeah.
People think I'm crazy. Like, you're nuts. Why are you spending the money? Why are you putting in the? My wife was one of them. What are you doing over there, man? And
back in the day back when I first started, I practiced 3 to 4 hours a day. I had my I had my office in the back of my house, and I had to walk by my practice rig to get to the end of the house, to the kitchen, to the bathroom, to go anywhere. So anytime I walked out of my office, I had to walk by my practice rig. I'd stop and toss a hand. It might be 5 numbers, it might be 50 numbers, but I'd toss a hand going out of my office. I'd toss a hand going back into my office. And I was in and out of my office a dozen times a day. So, I was tossing 200-300 numbers a day, every day. So, and in those days, I was playing 300 sessions a year. I mean, I worked for Ford Motor Company for 27 years. I traveled all over the the Southeast and was in the casinos, 3, 4, 5 times a week, and literally played 300 sessions a week. So, I mean, a month, a year, I'll get it out in a minute, 300 sessions a year. So, I played a lot in, live sessions, and I practiced all the time. Every time I touched the dice, I had a particular set I used all the time. My dominant number was the 9. People see me come in the casino, they'd say, "Here comes heavy, bet the 9." There was one particular African American lady over in Shreveport. I'd walk in the casino, she'd holler out, "Here comes the field man," because all she bet was the field, and I threw so many 9s, So, yeah, it works. I mean, you just have to practice, and do your thing. You will develop dominant numbers, and you just have to learn how to bet those numbers when you develop them.
Well, it's funny you say, because I was going to ask you this. I knew you had that story about walking by your table. I've heard that before. And for me, like what I have done is gone out there and spent a solid hour, throw 100 throws, working mechanics, working the muscle memory, all that stuff. But then I do what you do. Every time I walk by the table, if it's for a cup while the coffee's brewing, I go out there and I throw a hand. And my thinking is, I've done the mechanical work separately. This is like me rolling into a casino, walking up to a table, dropping my money out there, and throwing the dice cold. And how have my mechanics not safe, but how are they working? Cold. And I think you saying that actually changed kind of the way and I do it every day, 4 or 5 times a day now. Just let me throw 15, 20 roller and see if I can't get through it. Ice cold. And it's super helpful. It changes your mindset, because when you're practicing at night, it's like, oh, set, breathe, do, and when I'm waiting for the coffee to brew, it's literally like 8 minutes, and can I come in here and make $500 in 8 minutes? Like, that's kind of how I look at it. And that's kudos to you for saying that. I think I was on saying that show. Like, that's an amazing way to look at this.
So do you, when you're doing that, John, when you're doing that, you're actually betting at the same time, or you just okay?
Yeah. I got chips out my table. I do it from this side, so I bet them. And I say, I'm going to put my 250 out there and see if I can't make $500 out of that thing. Just ice cold. And because that's what you have to do, right? And I say this all the time. You walk to the casino, you may get the dice right away. You may have to wait 45 minutes to get them once. And if your one throw is a PSO, you got to wait another 45 minutes. I want to know that I can come in cold. And I think to me, it's a mindset thing. You got to get your brain right. Your brain gets your muscles right, and if it's a muscle memory thing and you've got to put the work in, potentially that's the way to solve that. I think that's I heard that from you a while back, and I'm like, I make it a point to do it almost every time, and it's become a joke in my house. My wife, every time I come out of the garage, she's like, "Did you make your money?" I'm like, "Yep." So
Fun.
Yep. Another question.
Heavy, we got a question from the audience out here. They want to know what's the best strategy: light, dark, or hybrid?
Well, the answer is there's no best strategy.
Right? Yeah, sports bet. Go sports betting. That's the best
strategy. That's like, do you prefer steak or seafood? I mean,
that's why they asked it.
I like surf and turf.
I guess the deal is this: if you walked up to a table cold, now do you walk up the tables cold, or do you scout first? But if you walked up cold and I'm throwing, are you going hybrid? Are you going dark? Or are you going to just throw a $10 comeback out there and say a Hail Mary? Like, how do you work that?
If I walk up to a table cold, first thing I'm going to do is wait until the puck is off before I buy in.
Amen.
You assholes that walk up and throw your money on the table while I'm shooting, I'm going to stop and wait for you to make a bet before I toss the dice. So if you walk up and I'm tossing the dice and the dice are out, you walk up and throw the money down on the table, I'm going to tell the stick to take the dice back if they haven't already done it. And then after you get your money, I'm going to stand there and stare at you and wait for you to make a bet. And then the stick man's going to tap the stick in front of me and say, dice are out. And I'm going to say, no, I'm waiting for that guy to make a bet. And the guy's going to say, oh, I don't want to make a bet. And I'm going, oh, no. You bought in. You must be wanting to make a bet. You stopped our game to buy in, so you need to make a bet. And I'm going to stand there and wait for him to make a bet. I'm going to make him very uncomfortable.
I don't like
He's
making
going to learn this lesson. He's never going to buy in the middle of the hand again, because I'm going to make him uncomfortable. And I'm going to stand there and wait for him to make a bet. Now, if he doesn't make a bet, what am I going to say? Oh, everybody, this guy here just bought in and screwed up our game. He must be the cooler. Let's all turn our bets off. Turn my bets off, and I'm going to do my best to get everybody at the table to turn their bets off. Because
you
that
got a
guy's
nice southern accent. Hold on. You got a nice southern accent. You sure you're from Philly? Because that's a total Philly thing to do. Just like give somebody the stink eye for walking up, and like 100%. That's what we would do.
I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna give the guy a free lesson here at the table. Okay.
That is awesome.
Anyway,
Steve, you had a
so
question?
all right, so here we are at the table, and I just thought I'd throw that out there. That's actually one of Darth Nader's tricks. He taught me that one, and I like it so well I stole it from him. But anyway, now I'm gonna.
got a question here from the phone.
I like to look at the shooter's first hand before I decide whether I'm going to bet on them or not. But if I go up and bet on them initially, I'm going to play one hit can't miss. Now, one hit can't miss consists of this. Say it's a $15 game. I'm going to throw out a $25 don't pass. And I hope I get past the sheriff and the deputy and we get a point established. Doesn't matter what it is. But let's just say it goes to the 9. Now I'm going to bet a $24 6 and 8. All I need to do is get one hit on the 6 or 8. It's going to pay me $28. Now I'm guaranteed a win on this shooter. Once I get one hit on the 6 or 8, I'm guaranteed at least a $3 win. I cannot lose on this shooter. So that's what I'm looking for. Now, if the 6 or 8 become the point, I'm still going to bet. I'm still going to place the 6 or 8 because one hit on one of them and I'm a winner. If the guy makes the point, I'm still a winner. You know, it's just a little more complex. I got to get another hit on the next one, but I still don't lose. What hurts is if he throws a 7 on the come out. That's not good. I have to make that up later. But I will tell you this story. This exact play at Caesar's Palace a couple of years ago on a Saturday morning before class. It's about 7 o'clock. About 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm walking out, and there's a $15 game at Caesar's Palace, something I've never seen. The table closest to the exit. And there's one guy playing, and I walk by and I see a $15 game, and I'm like, I got to get in on this. So I go over and drop $1,000 on the table, buy in, play a $25 don't pass, $24 on the 6 and 8, and the guy establishes the 6 as the point. And the first thing he throws out the bat is an 8, and it pays me $24. And then he throws another 8, and it pays me pays me $28. Throws another one, pays me another $28. Same bet. Throws another one, pays me another $28. I go to 42 and lock up 10. Throws another 8, pays me pays me 42, pays me 50 for 1. I lock that up. Pays me another 50 for 1. I go to 90. Throws another 8, pays 105. I lock it up. Throws another 8, I go to 180, lock up 15. Throws another 8, I drop 30, go to 420. Throws another 8, I collect 500 for 10. Throws another 8, I go to $900. And throws another 8, I collect 550. Throws another 8, I go to 1,800. Throws another 8, I collect. Oh, that last 8 was hard, so I threw out a $10 hard 8. Throws another 8, he throws another hard 8, I collect 2,100 plus $90 for the hard 8, and then he sevens out. And I win $25 for my don't pass on the 6. I won $4,000 in 20 minutes on a stupid ass strategy that's designed to give you something to do on shooters while you're waiting for the dice. And I was 20 minutes late for class. I got to class and Nate had already started. Now,
That's insane.
that don't happen. I mean,
No.
don't play this strategy expecting that to happen. This guy threw 14 eights. It's crazy. That doesn't happen. But it did. So weird things can happen. That was a unicorn hand, but they do happen from time to time. So $25 don't pass, $24 on the 6 and 8. It is a grind strategy designed to keep you in the game and give you something to do, waiting for the next shooter. And if a hot hand develops, you can go up and out easy. But don't expect that to happen. Expect to make $25, $28 and survive that guy's hand to go on to the next one. And that's what I do. Now, if it's a known shooter, I bet the numbers I know this guy's going to toss. If I'm playing with Mark Evangelisto, 220 inside. He's 220 inside, but I'm betting even numbers on him because I know he throws lots of 4s and 10s, and 4s and 10s pay 2 for 1. I'd rather get that than to get 7 for 5 on the damn 5 and 9. So let's go with the 4 and 10. I'll bet even numbers on him. Give me 110 even numbers. And I'll go up from there. And if 5 and 9 come to the party, I'll get on them. But it depends on who the shooter is. If a guy throws inside numbers, I'll bet inside numbers.
Hey,
Now,
Heavy,
I like
we got
to
a question.
play. Yeah.
Heavy, we got a question from Brian out at Hawaii Crap Shooters. He says, is there anything to expect that would be different on a craps table on a boat cruise compared to a normal casino in Vegas?
It depends on the ship because different ships have different odds. I cruise primarily on Royal Caribbean because that's where we do our craps cruises. Royal Caribbean has $500 table max and single odds if you're betting $10 game. Now, it gets complicated because if you want to play double odds, you can bet $25 and they'll let you bet double odds. And if you play $50, they'll let you play 3, 4, 5 times odds. So
That's interesting. It's progressive odds based on your base.
It's confusing as hell for the dealers, many of whom are not the sharpest cookies or crayons in the box because their English isn't always good and they're not always the best dealers. Now the ship cruise on primarily is Allure of the Seas, and Royal has done a really good job of transferring their best dealers in the fleet onto that ship for us because we do the craps cruises there and we've squawked about it. So they've got very good dealers on that ship and they do a really good job for us. Now, COVID really hurt their dealer base because they lost a lot of dealers during COVID, just like they did in land-based casinos. And so they've had to train a lot of them. But anyway, getting off of that, the single odds games, how I play those, I'll play a $10 pass line, $10 odds, and then I'll place the point also. So 6 is the point. I've got a $10 pass line bet, $10 odds, and then I'll bet $42 on the 6, because I want more money on it. And I don't want to play a $25 pass line bet because I don't like contract bets. So I'd rather wait and place the point in addition to having that contract pass line bet pay me even money. I'd rather take that $25 and do a $30 place bet on a 5 or 9, something like that. Now, the great thing about a $5 max bet is it's easy to hit a 5 max bet there. I mean, I hit table max on my daughter, Felicia, who we call the Flea. She's an outside number shooter. She sets for the pins. Now, Felicia is She claims to be 5 feet tall. She's about 4'11". So when she stands at the table, you know, her arm is on the rail. I mean, literally, her armpit is on the rail, and she's just getting the dice and flinging them. But she sets a V2 and throws them down there, and she just bangs out tens. And on the 3 cruises back, she threw I think it was about an hour and a half hand, 54 numbers. And I took my 10 to table max and won $5,400 on it, 6,400. And it was my standard 4 and 10 progression, which is 15, 25, 50, 100, 250, 500. So six tens and you're at table max. And then you're just collecting $1,000 every time it hits. Bam, 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 bam.
So
And
let me dig in there, Frick. I have a question because my local casino, all of ours in Washington, $500 max. They're lands casinos.
Yeah.
That's they're tribal, and that's what we have. Is it recommended? Now you just laid it out. You're taking 6 hits to the 10 to get the table max. Is it better to be more aggressive and just hammer it and get there in 3 and just ride it out versus collecting as you go? You know what I'm saying? If a low table max like that on a cruise ship, is that a consideration, especially when you know the shooter?
yeah, I mean, when Banker Dude took his 4 up to 5,000, he power pressed. I mean, he went to 350 when I was at 100. He was at 350. He power pressed his. So when he got to 5,000, I was at 2,500. He was a press ahead of me because he did a big power press in there at one point. I double up every time except when I go from 100 to 250. Instead of going from 100 to 200, I power press, put an extra 50 in there, go to 250, solely because I want to go to 500 on the next hit.
On the next one.
Because
Yeah, with the
I want to
$500
hit
max
1,000.
table, that makes sense. Yeah, with the low max table, you gotta get there as quick as you can.
But
So
the rest of them, I just double up every time. And I've taken half my opinion. When I get to $1,000 on a bet on a 4 or 10, I've got 875 in the rack. So I've got 875 in the rack, and I got $1,000 bet out there. That's to me.
Hey, Heavy, real quick, we got a question from Duracell 8. He says, "What's your opinion on players changing dice sets outside the family when at the casino versus adjusting toss at the table?"
Repeat that. I didn't quite understand it.
Okay, the question is, what's your opinion on players changing dice sets outside the family when at the casino versus just adjusting the toss at the table?
Okay, the only reason you should change your dice is if you have a proven dice set that will give you the same SRR at the table. In other words, in Bone Tracker, the newer versions, we have a thing called the coaster chart. The coaster chart breaks your dice sets down into different families, okay? And there are 16 different dice sets in each family that will give you the same 7 to rolls ratio. They just give you different dominant numbers. So once you know what your dice sets are that have the same 7 to rolls ratio, now you don't have to have the coaster chart to learn what those numbers are. You can go into the transition tabs in Bone Tracker and search through them manually and find different dice sets that give you the same 7 to rolls ratio, but they're in different families. And you can look at those, and you can change from between those sets, interchange those sets without fear of changing your 7 to rolls ratio during your hand. In other words, if you've got a V2 set and a cross section set and a V3 set and a hardway set, and all of them have the same 7 to rolls ratio, and you want to change sets to wall sets in your hand, that's fine if they all give you the same 7 to rolls ratio. You don't have to worry about the changing set causing you to have a 7 out because they all give you the same SRR. You may 7 out after you change that set, but if you do, it's not because you change the set. It's just because the universe says, hey, it's your turn to have a 7. You know, I mean, the 7's due. They're going to show up. So
They will.
don't
So
let that
was this
bother
question
you.
more about
Don't be afraid to
changing
change the
families
set.
or changing the set itself or changing the set within the family? Is that how he worded it? Okay. I was curious about that because you can change set within the family. Obviously, it's one thing versus completely switching out and going so. Which would George, because George will do that all the time, right? So I think it was about changing families.
You're basically saying, should you adjust your throw, your landing zone, how you're tossing it,
Right.
or switch to a totally different dice set?
For that day's.
Yeah, I think he's talking about changing like from a V to a V2 to a cross sixes or whatever.
Which is a great question because unfortunately, I will admit, if one dice set's not working, I will change the dice set. But out of it, I have to prove that this new dice set's better. But still, I'm going to try this instead of that.
I would just say be sure to verify that the dice set you're changing to has the same 7 to rolls ratio as the one that you're using. Don't change to a lesser set.
All right. Well, we've got just a couple minutes left here, Heavy. Final words. I mean, you got the ear of a few hundred people out here.
Well,
what's the bid on that? Hold on? What is it? The bid's $525 on your weekend there. I think that can go a lot higher.
hey,
I
that's
mean, the
good.
value on that thing is $1,300. I'd like to see that thing get way up there. What a great value, right?
I'm glad somebody bid on it. Hell, I would encourage you guys to get board on it. Hey, even the guys that are alumni that have done class with me before, it would cost them $900 plus to do this class. So jump on board. It's a bargain. Looking there, I see Ed Robinson's coming up. I see his name scrolling across there. Ed Robinson's one of my alumni.
Ed's
One
gonna
of
be
the
here with
best
us in a
guys
bit, yeah.
around. Great shooter. He's one of my alumni. So,
Yeah, that's
you know, all these great shooters you see around here, hell, that's just so many of them have come through my system, and we teach the scientifically approved method of doing this stuff. We've proven it over and over that it works. And by the way, I will mention a couple of upcoming events we've got going on here. December the 4th, cruising out of Miami on the Scarlet Lady. For anybody that's interested in that, we've got 6 slots available on that cruise. And it is comp to those of you who qualify. You can contact me, accesspowercraps@gmail.com. That's Scarlet Lady, December the 4th, going out to the Western Caribbean, down to Cozumel. On February the 12th is the next craps cruise on Royal Caribbean. We're cruising out of Galveston on Allure of the Seas. That'll be a 7-day cruise, Western Caribbean. And just announced August 21st out of New York City, the first craps cruise out of New York. And that's going to be on MSC Cruise Lines. I was contacted by MSC and asked to do a craps cruise on their first ship that will have a craps table on it. This is a European cruise line that normally only has roulette, and they are installing a craps table, and they asked me to do a craps cruise. We're doing that August 21st on MSC, and that's going to be through UR Comp, and you can actually through my Facebook group, Heavy's Access Power Craps Group. The link is on there to sign up for that. And if you guys are not a member of my private group on Facebook, I'd encourage you to join. Again, it's Heavy's Access Power Craps Group. And that's about it. The next Biloxi class will be March 10th. If you guys are interested in the seminar, be glad to see you guys there and talk about all this stuff and a whole lot more. Any questions on betting strategies before we go?
From the chat or from here? Who's anybody got any more questions? I
Where?
know Skill always wants to know about the best hybrid way to play. He's one of the best hybrid players out there.
Yeah.
As is Jacob, the guy's following you is going to be. He's a great another one of the best hybrid players going. So I think, hybrid is picking up a lot of steam. I think you said you spent about 20% of your time on that, but I think most players don't have the huge bankrolls to go out there and hammer the right side, or also get picked off the don't.
Let me say one thing.
Hybrids are great.
The biggest argument I get from players about playing the don't is I don't like betting more to win less. And you hear it every time you bring up playing the don'ts. Guys will say, what I don't like about playing the dark side? I don't like betting more to win less. You got to bet $50 to win 25 on the 4 and 10. The whole bit. And so what I say is, you play the right side, right? Yeah. So what do you play? Well, I play 110 inside. So you're betting $110 to win 35. And that's the fact. That's what you're doing. You're betting $110 inside to win $35. 7 rows on the next toss, you lose $110 and you were trying to win 35. You're betting more to win less already. You're just playing the right side.
You're laying against the 7 is what you're doing when you're betting
That's
big on the
exactly
inside
right.
like that. It's exactly.
People just don't think of it that way, but there they are betting more to win less already. Let me just mention my favorite right side play that I use most often, and it's a dominant press play, and it's real simple. If I'm betting across, the first number that the player rolls is the number I press. So let's say the player rolls, I've got 96 across, and the player rolls a 9, the first number out of the chute. I go right to $35 on that. Any other number rolls after that, it's same bet. 9 rolls again, I go to 75. Anything else rolls, same bet. 9 rolls again, I go to $1.50. Same bet. 9 rolls again, I'll collect it. 9 rolls again, now I'm going to 300. And then I press collect. But first 2 times the 9 rolls, I go up, and then I go into press collect. But that becomes my dominant number, and I'm heading up to at least $500 on that as quick as I can get there. Everything else is just same bet until everything's paid for. Then I start pressing that. But I do like a dominant number strategy where I pick one number out of all the layout, and that's the number I press. And it's usually the first number that rolls because it's out of the chute ahead of the other. The horse that gets out of the chute first is the one that's in the lead, so let's bet him first. See where it goes. Anyway.
Hey, Heavy, one more time. Can you just tell everybody how to get in contact with you to find the seminars and stuff like that one more time? There's a lot of people asking that.
Yeah, sure. My email address is accesspowercraps, all one word, at gmail.com. accesspowercraps@gmail.com. Or you can call me if you want. My cell number, 903-258-8759.
Excellent.
Perfect, Heavy. Thank you so much.
Heavy, thanks for your
Thank
time,
you, guys.
man. Really
Appreciate
appreciate
you
it. Really
having me on.
appreciate you being here. Yeah.
Anytime, man.
Yeah. Really appreciate the donation. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.